Hi everyone, bonjour tout le monde. My name is Davy Sabourin. I use he, him pronouns. Mon nom c'est Davy Sabourin. J'utilise les pronoms lui et il. Donc, we are gathered today with a friend of mine and also our executive director, Osmel, for a fireside chat as part of the 2020 Virtual Capitale Pride Festival. To begin, I'd like to acknowledge that we are currently filming on unsurrendered and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people, and that Two-Spirit and Indigenous folks should always be in our mind whenever we talk about activism, whether it's through Capitale Pride, other pride organizations, or in general. So as I said, I'm joined by Osmel B. Guerra Maynes, who is our first ever executive director for Capitale Pride, which is a big deal for Ottawa-Gatineau. It's the first time, as far as I know, in the history of Pride that we have an executive director.
Yes.
And you were the chosen one.
Oh, the chosen one.
So I have a few questions
Sure.
that I wanted to ask you for folks as well to get to know you.
All right.
In your tenure, I think now it's about half a year, like
Yes.
7 months or 8 months.
It feels like it's been longer.
So tell me more about you, your background. How would you identify yourself?
Yes. So as folks know how I identify myself and who is Osmel, I guess. My name is Osmel B. Guerra Maynes. I identify as an Afro-Latino queer man. I use the pronouns he, him, and his. I came from a very large Caribbean country tend to only speak Spanish. But then I was raised in the Twin Island state of Antigua and Barbuda. I have a twin brother. And so with that's the case, a lot of people always keep asking, well, if you're gay, that means he's gay too? And I'm like, actually, no. So he's straight as a pin, and I'm like fabulous. And so living in the Caribbean was really hard for me. Most of the fact that being Black and Latino, you keep hearing from your own family or from your own background that homosexuality does not exist in our community. It's no such thing. That's a white man's disease, so don't even bother with that. And so growing up, you have this idea that, oh my God, like, this is not what I'm supposed to be like. So what I've done in many cases, I ended up going to a very prestigious school in my home country where it was just only males who could attend. And girl, that's hard for me though. But the thing that was, I guess, was my saving grace was the fact that my twin brother was also going to the school. So I was able to use him as a shield. So when I used him as a shield, people would be like, oh, the twins are not gay because, I tried acting like my brother. And for many cases, that's what I did to survive, especially in my home country. When I was able to get the chance to come to Canada, I was extremely excited because I thought, okay, well, now I'm able to be who I am. I'm able to live as the Osmel that I know. But because of that, coming here, I ended up coming to Ottawa, where I also had family living here. And so my plan of living by myself and just enjoying being gay was not fruitful. So I had to digress and kind of go with the flow until I've come to the conclusion through my own mental health and even ideas of attempting suicide led me to the fact that I want to live, and I want to live as who I am. I want to live my truth. And so that's what I ended up doing. I ended up coming out to my parents, which I thought would be so hard. And though it is really hard in our community, my parents were very supportive. I think they were supportive to the fact that, as my dad says, well, you're now a big man, so me can't tell big man what to do. So that's our dialect that we share. But in retrospect, it's saying, you are old enough to decide your decisions. In many cases, my family do speak both. Me and my brother coming from a Spanish-speaking country, which with my mom, but my dad was Antiguan, so they tend to sound almost Jamaican, so like your family.
Yes.
And I also had a stepmom who's from Trinidad, so I'm a bit of all around the Caribbean, I guess.
Okay.
And so they were able to accept me, and it led me to continuing the work that I did in secret which was being part of the LGBTQ2S+ community and doing activism for it. And now it moved from being secretive to, out in the
Out
open.
there.
Yeah.
And today you're the executive director of a pride organization.
And today and you know what? Honestly, I have to say to you that it is a dream for that to happen to me, because I remember coming out because I went to Toronto Pride during World Pride.
Was it your first pride?
No, it wasn't my first Pride. The other times I went to Pride was the fact of I was saying that, I'm supporting my friends. Little as everybody know, there's a huge queen was just sitting right there. So for me, that was my whole excuse. It was I'm just supporting a friend. And then, I don't know, I think those bit of mal type of questioning of who I am and, you're not good enough, or you're still hiding, those just came to light. And then eventually I just decided this is not who I want to be. This is not how I want to live. I don't want to be married to a person that I'm not interested in.
Right.
I don't want to be that person that just lived a life not in shame, because everyone takes their own time to come out. But I didn't want to be that person that leads someone in the wrong path to be I love you, but I don't. And I don't want my children to live in the same type of shadow. That is that, I want folks to express themselves. I want my children to know that I would accept them and the world should accept them for who they are.
It's something that I definitely can relate to. As you know, my father is also Jamaican, and so I'm familiar with the whole Caribbean mentality, and which really is rooted in colonization.
Yeah.
Really, when you look back at it.
Exactly.
But I have a question about that, but for later. Before we get into that, as I said, you're Capitale Pride's first executive director.
Same.
That was a big deal for Capitale Pride, but it was also a big deal for our community. It means that there's a full-time person that can work for our community. What motivated you to apply for Pride organization and specifically Capitale Pride?
For me, everything leads to a theme of home, a theme of togetherness. So for me, Ottawa is always home, because when I came here, this was the place I was able to live my truth. It happened a little bit later in life, but I was able to live my truth. I feel very comfortable in Ottawa. But one thing that really caught my eye is the fact that, as I said, I have a twin brother, and he has a beautiful family that he just now have, I think. So my baby nephew, and for me, that was also one of the nails in the coffin, where I feel that my brother has been so supportive of me in coming out, in everything that I do. And so I wanted to make sure that I'm also there for my nephew, his son, so that at the end of the day, I'm also teaching the ideas of I don't know if I'm gonna ever have a kid, but at least I know that I can teach to be accepting, to live your life. And so that's one thing. And not only that, but I'm a person that I'm a bit of a policy queen and a bylaw queen type of thing. So, so for me is that I saw Capitale Pride, and I when I saw the ad, I was just oh my God, this is something that I would love to do. I've have the yearning of leading a pride organization for so long, just because I knew that when I came out because of this pride parade. This parade that was, it's a parade now, but before it was a huge riot where folks who look like us, people of color, were able to come out, and not only people who look like us, but trans folks. We have Marsha P. Johnson. We have so many folks who came out and represented, and seeing a pride parade for me is not like a party or everybody, and it's great if everybody likes to party, but I see it bigger. I see it for me as a way of saying that, yes, I'm from a Black and Afro-Latino or Black and Latin community where I'm not able to express myself, where when I'm told that this is not who you are, and for the fact that I could be at World Pride and cry because I knew that at that moment in time I'm actually living my truth, that what got me into the fact of you know what? If I can provide that for someone who comes from a community that is mine, or any community that you go through the paces of, living in the shadow of your family, or trying to say that I have to be pure for my family, I have to, provide for my family. and only thinking of your family and not thinking of what is best for you. Because I think there's one thing that we need to also address is the fact of mental health of mental health within us as people. And so I think that's what led me here. I saw the ad. I just like, this is something I always wanted. I always wanted to lead a pride organization to allow folks who look like me to actually participate and know that it's okay to participate. Yeah. The water is fine. Come on in. Why not?
Amazing. I have a follow-up question because I came out 6 years ago at the age of 21 years old.
Girl, you were braver than me.
So yeah, in a way, I feel like it was way too late, but for others, it's young. So definitely, I recognize that privilege that I was able to come out and be accepted for the most part by my family. There were some challenges, but never in the world did I think I would one day be the chair of a pride organization 6 years later.
Look at you, though.
So did you think when you came out, did you think you would ever lead a pride organization?
No, never.
So
I was like,
feel?
Honestly, when I went for the job, I was scared. I was so scared because I was like, okay. In my past, I've done so many other type of works. I've led community LGBTQ community organizations. I've participated in various community LGBTQ groups, but never have I thought of like leading something like a pride organization. And what's the weirdest thing? Having a conversation with my dad, my father actually said the same thing. It's like, I remember you as a kid, and I would never think that this is where life would take you. Like. And I'm so proud to see that you're so happy. Like the happiest moment for me was when I was able to have a discussion or a workshop or even a speech that I did a few years ago, and my dad was able to sit in the crowd and just smile while I was doing it. And that alone just showcased to me that, this is what I need to do. And so coming into Pride and just realizing, Osmel, you are head of Pride. Like, how did that happen? And so for me, it's just like it's so exciting. Like I love it. I love each and every day of it. I love the folks that I work with, the board, and also our operations team that we have for the summer. Just even getting to know their perspective in terms of how they came out to their families and having the idea that the world is changing. Like I remember, as you stated, I remember we were so scared to come out.
Oh yes.
But these people,
terrified.
these young kids are coming out. Like they don't even care. They're just like, no, I'm gay or I'm bi, I'm trans.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah, of course.
and then
It's
just
easier.
and it's like, and I always love that. I always like the idea that I wish I had that when I was growing up.
Oh yeah.
So yeah,
Definitely hear you. Great. So you've already done one Winter Pride since you started, which you were kind of thrown in. You were thrown in, which you dealt with brilliantly,
Thank
and
you.
we're really happy with what you've done, and I think the community would agree with that. And now you're basically leading our summer festival, which took a turn.
Oh yeah.
Because of COVID. We had big plans. We were planning on having our first Cutie BIPOC stage, for instance, and
oh my God.
we were really excited about that. We had other plans, and those kind of fell through. But in a way, you kind of turn around and you innovated, and you're putting on a virtual Pride. What would you say, since you're beginning with us, is your proudest moment, or what is your proudest achievement since you started? I think out of many achievements.
Oh my God, I just think for me it's never what I've done, and that's the thing about me. It's just like I don't like it when, I sit there and just like I did all this. I'm not that type of person. I'm not that queen. For me, my proudest moment is that the way how both of us interact, the way how our board interact, and also the way how our operations team interact. As I said before, like I may come up with various ideas, but I like to also know that folks are on board as well. And I feel with that, we've done so many campaigns, even during COVID. I think one of the biggest things that I can say that we as Capitale Pride did was the Capitale Pride Live Presents. We were able to provide, entertainment for folks who were during this pandemic. We were able to provide some type of funding to queer arts. And I think that's the thing that we need to focus on. It's just, queer artists are able to provide, their talents during that time. And so I think that's one huge major greatness that we've done as Capitale Pride. I don't want to say it as Osmel because it's never about me. I think it's that at the end of the day, I want to ensure that folks understand that that we're a community and we're a team. We have folks from various spectrums. And so what I may think is different, you may think, what I may think, sorry, is, probably won't work. You probably think it'll work. And then coming together and seeing that, manifest itself, to me, that's awesome. So I think for me, that is what I would say is our greatest accomplishment.
Okay. Very humble. Thank you for answering that.
That was a pageant question, but still.
So there's something that you touched on, and it's the fact that you're Afro-Latino, Black Afro-Latino man. And as you know, I'm also mixed, Black Jamaican. How does it feel? And as far as I know, currently you are the only Black ED of a Pride organization in Canada. Do you feel that, and especially in the environment that we saw, with in the U.S. with George Floyd and all of those things that kind of spurred and called to action for folks who might not have been, in tune with all of the racism that occurs, and are like, oh wow, racism actually exists in our society, and it exists within our own communities as well. So how do you feel about that? Do you feel there's kind of an added pressure? Certainly as, the chair of Capitale Pride, and I'm a person of color, I do feel like there's a little bit more of a level of thinking that I have to make sure that I'm inclusive of my own, of people of color and Black folks that are like me. So do you feel sort of a kind of pressure, and how do you feel about the general environment?
I think for me, growing up, I've always tried to influence the work I do with incorporating everyone, I should say. And for me, being Black and queer is, I'm like a two-sided coin, I guess. You can say that wherever I fall, that's who I am. Whether I'm heads or tails, that's who I am. I'm Osmel. And so I make sure that I provide that space for people who look like me. So whether it's advertisements, whether it's some type of information, I want to make sure that whatever we put out symbolizes people. They could look on that and say wow, I'm part of that. I think in many cases, especially of what is happening in the States in terms of anti-Black racism, which is definitely happening here in Canada.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I know, right? I think a lot of folks believe that it's just happened people are only talking about it last week or 2 months ago. But as Black men that we are, or Black folks that we are, we know that we've been going through this from day one. I've gotten this through whether I'm going for jobs or whether I'm in positions of power, where I am, discriminated upon because of who I am. And in many cases, folks see it as oh, that's nothing, you always make it about a race thing. And I always love to say to folks, I don't think people who look like me look to make something out to be a race thing. It's the fact that that's just how we live. That's what's happening to us. And I love to say, I think that you folks make into a race thing when you say, oh, you're bringing in the race card. I'm like, I don't see a race card. That's just who I am, and I can see discrimination towards me. And so in many cases, I make sure that I always include folks who look like us, especially folks who are from or queer Black trans folks, because that's who we are. In many cases, I was a bit perturbed when I think someone expected me to respond in a certain way. They expected, we need to hear from him more, or we need to hear from, and these were not from people from our communities, but from we're white folks. Yeah. And I love to say to folks, it's you know what? We've been through this for so long, to the point that this becomes, unfortunately, the norm. What you're seeing now, or what you're talking about now, is something that happens to us every single day. I used to live in an area where folks would put garbage bags in front of my home each and every morning. Each morning. And some folks would say, oh, well, that's just racist or whatever. And I'm just like, no, that's just life, because that's what folks do who don't like other folks because of the color of their skin. And so for me, I was a bit perturbed when someone say, "Oh, you're not doing what you should be doing. You should be speaking out." And I'm like, first of all, as a black man, as a black queer man, I need to unpack the information that's around me. And in many cases, I unpack that information by not speaking, by sticking to myself, because in many cases, this is something that I go through every day and it's traumatizing. And so if I take some time to, you know, build my house because I'm just not ready for that today,
Right.
then I think I should. And so in many cases, I saw that even when us as Capital Pride put out our, our statement against anti-black racism, again, was the fact of like, oh, well, why haven't you done it? Why haven't you already put something out when something was already
Never thought
out?
that. Yeah.
And again, it's the idea of like, okay, well, there's a black man in charge. There's two black men that are at the head. Why isn't this being heard by them yet? And for me, again, it's like we have to unpack what we
Of
are
course.
living with.
And it takes time.
It takes time. Like some people think I can just like, oh my God, I just got called the N-word and I should just pop up tomorrow and be like, hi, I'm Osmel, how are you? No, like it affects me. It affects me when I go home because when I'm at home and everybody's smiling and I'm just sitting in my room or my husband is trying to comfort me, I have to get ready for tomorrow. So yeah.
Okay. I have another question for you.
That was a hard question though. Didn't
Well,
think you were
me,
going that way though.
I ask sometimes hard questions, and I
Yeah,
appreciate your
man. I
answer.
like that. I like that.
And obviously, same thing when we talk about anti-black racism, and often tokenization is also
Oh, yeah.
a thing where, I've sat on groups of folks where we're having a discussion. And obviously, I am the only or one of the only person of color, and when you talk about racism. So, Davey, what do you think?
Yeah, I get that.
It's like, I just wish that you can figure things out before you actually start asking me these questions.
You know
but,
what I say to people? Google is free. Just you can find out. Like, I don't need to teach you about who I am as a person. I mean, no offense, we were forced to learn about your culture, so why don't you just Google it?
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
Yeah. So you've been in this role for under a year. I know you're a visionary.
Yes, I am.
Where do you see Capital Pride, let's say, in 3 years from now?
Oh, I thought you was gonna say like in 20 years. I was gonna be like we're on the Mars, we're having like the biggest pride party. But
Well, keeping in mind that I would consider Ottawa or Capital Pride, and I know some folks have also mentioned that to be more community-oriented than some other bigger prides, not to take away from their achievements or successes, but one of the things that I feel like sets us apart from medium-sized or bigger-sized pride is that we want to keep it
community-based.
community-based, community-oriented.
Yeah.
We're not about like these big productions.
Oh, no, girl, no.
We're all about catering to the needs of our community. So how do you, now that I've said that, where do you see Capital Pride in 3 years from now?
Well, honestly, to tell you the truth, Davey, I think that, and I said it before to you and to the board, like you folks have placed a wonderful foundation, and I can see the foundation just keeps going all the way past. That's why I said 15 years from now in the moon or in Mars, because again, like that's one thing that also, and I'm sorry I almost forgot to say that during the time when you asked me about why I chose this and chose Capital Pride, and again, it's also because of the community-based level of events and programming and entertainment that we provide, and in no way I don't see that stopping. I think our community is what makes our different type of organizations what make our community move. This year, as you know, we continue to partner with folks within the community. Such folks as Max Ottawa, the CCGSD, like we've done so much with these folks, and we want to continue doing that work with them. I know that we've done some work, or I'm hoping to do some work with Kind Space, with the Ottawa Seniors Pride Network, and so these are the folks within our communities that continues to make us thrive in who we are as people, because we want to showcase them. We want to continue showcasing the work that we've done in this community. So your question about where I see it, I see us flowing in the same direction, but in a bigger statement. I want to see us continue to focus on local artists as well. I want to local queer artists. I want us to see us focus on the work and creating great campaigns like what you're leading, being the chair of Capitale Pride. And so that's where I want to see us go. I want to see us continue to do the work that we've done. I'm just here to look pretty. I'm just joking about that one.
No, I know.
But you know what I mean? It's just like continuing to do the work, continuing to ensure that more people feel that they can be included into our organizations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. So, this is going to be like one of my last questions for you.
Okay.
Because I can ask you so many questions. So Capitale Pride's mission is to create opportunities to celebrate, advocate, educate, and connect people. And in the last couple of years, Capitale Pride has really taken the advocacy piece, has really elevated it.
Yeah.
That's something that was personal to me, and now something was personal to the board. We've launched a few campaigns. I'm talking about the blood ban, which we're leading a national campaign on that front. We've partnered with an organization called No Conversion Canada and with local folks to also advocate for a bylaw in Ottawa, a municipal ban. We've written to the Prime Minister, we've written to other ministers. People know who we are. We're on the map politically, like with the governments at all levels of government. What do you think is the next thing that we should tackle, or some of the direction that we should be going, keeping in mind that we want to continue to do more advocacy for our communities?
I think advocacy is great, but for me, advocacy and education also work hand in hand. So education for me is training, actually going out and even partnering with various organizations to lead queer competency training, to lead training within our within businesses and organizations to understand what it means to be inclusive to folks who look like us, to folks who identify like us. Just because I think that's to me one of the most important factors that we need to ensure inclusivity is there. We need to have that knowledge that we can share about the blood ban campaign, where folks who think they know but they don't know, and so giving them that information and being like, well, this is the reason why this is so important to us. And so that's where I see us going in terms of working hand to hand in terms of advocacy, in terms of education, but not only that, but also focusing on an international scope. There's close to 76 countries that still sees people who look like us or like people criminals. Who identifies us as criminals. And some of it leads to death. And I want to see us take on advocacy work where we are there to say, no, we are against this. Right. We want to ensure that folks in other countries know that to be us is to be who we are. Like we're not here to take away anything from you. We just want to live like how you live, and that's free. And so, and that's why I'm saying that. Yeah, I love the work that we've done. The work that we've done shows where we want to be and where we're going, and I want to see it move into an international scope.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Great. Before we conclude, is there anything else that you wanted to add? Any message you want to give out to the community who are getting to know you really in Ottawa, in Gatineau?
Well, my door is always open. We've recently moved from our old space, and so we're now at on Bank Street, 403 Bank Street, studio number 2. So in case you ever want to come and see me, I'm there. We can talk. Sometimes, in many cases, some folks just want to talk, and I mean, if I'm not part of the community to hear what you're going through, then why am I even here? I want to hear what's going on. I want to know, what ideas you have. Where do you see pride? Yeah. And so I think that's where we need to go, to the idea of informing our community and getting that information back from them, allowing them to write or rewrite pride to how it should be inclusive to everyone. So yeah, I think that's what I want to say. I also want to say, come in, the water is fine. It's beautiful to be gay and fabulous.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much,
Thank you.
Osmel B, Guerra Maynes, Capitale Pride's executive director. I should say first ever executive director. I know I've said it, I'm a broken record now, but I think it's a pretty major achievement. Thank you for having this conversation. I know people will be eager to get to know you a bit more on a more personal level. Yeah. And so, thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. I love the set.
Indeed.
Thank you.